In this video, we're going to be talking all about the essentials of hand washing, why you probably aren't doing it right, and how your kids are infecting your whole home every day when they come home from school. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe. I do post a video at least once a week, oftentimes more, so also hit the bell. That way you'll be notified when I post new videos. Hey, Abundant Parents, it's Leah. Today I have Gretchen Heinen here. Gretchen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love this. I was a school nurse and I've been a nurse for 10 years. I love talking about how to help kids stay healthy because that affects everyone.
What do you see the most when it comes to trying to help kids stay healthy through managing all those germs?
It's not necessarily just a school issue. This is like a society issue. Hand washing is the number one way to prevent infectious diseases that are transmitted or spread that way. Some diseases are spread by bloodborne or by blood touching blood. You think of like HIV or hepatitis, but the majority of colds and viruses and flus and things that the average healthy person who's sending their kids to school, the best thing that we can do is practice good hand washing. And most people think that means like, oh, I wash my hands after I go to the bathroom, or I wash my hands right before I eat. And that's really, in my opinion, about 10% of what you need to really be aware of about hand washing and staying healthy. This is a little history lesson. Back in the day, Semmelweis was a doctor who delivered babies and worked in the morgue. And he kept finding that the babies were dying after he would be in the morgue. He started realizing that if you wash your hands before you deliver the babies after being in the morgue, the disease rate and the death rate of these babies like went down to almost zero. And that's how we found out that hand washing was so important. This is like literally back in like the, 1600s. So nowadays we use hand washing as the best way to prevent you from getting sick.
I love that this doctor used what he was seeing. He used his common sense and his intuition to be like, wait a minute. I love that it was like this practicing medicine, right? To come to this whole new way of living. Let me start by saying the amount of times while I'm in the restroom with my kids that I see adults go to the bathroom and leave the stall and just bypass the sinks entirely is frightening.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Luckily my kids see that and they're like, whoa. But then the other piece of it is the amount of times that I see my kids squirt the soap in their hand and then immediately rinse it off without doing any scrubbing happens more than it probably should be happening.
Yes. And honestly, those were the two things that I was going to talk about is that kids model what adults do. Kids are going to follow what we show them, not necessarily what we say with our words, but what we do with our actions. Particularly men are worse at washing their hands than women because they think like, oh, I didn't touch anything. They go up to the urinal, they just unzip their pants, like not to be too graphic, but they think because they didn't like touch the toilet seat, they think they don't need to wash their hands. As a nurse for 10 years, that's what men would tell me. I'm not generalizing all men.
Right. Well, and I have to tell you, there's this joke that goes around basically making fun of men specifically that don't wash their hands, like a public service looking graphic. So it's showing a person not washing your hands. It's basically the same thing as this. And it shows two men like reaching across and like basically grabbing each other's nether regions. It's like, kinda.
Yeah. If we're not washing our hands as adults, like our kids are going to see that and they're going to be like, well, that guy didn't do it. So why should I, even if it's not you as the parent? So as a society, like just bringing more awareness to hand washing is super necessary. And that's why public health campaigns will do stuff like that with the memes, and there's another one where the glowing green hands is like a sign of your hands are dirty. And then there's like a guy with like glowing green stuff around his nose showing that like his hands were dirty and then he picked his nose. I mean, there's lots of really funny campaigns like that because it's intended to show you that like we can't see the germs. So you just have to assume that they're there. It's so important as adults that we model hand washing and that we model proper hand washing. And it's so basic, but most adults don't even know how to wash their hands.
Are you suggesting that we confront people in the restroom and stand and watch them while they wash their hands properly?
I wish we could do that.
I'm pretty sure I would make zero friends out of that behavior.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know that method, that direct contact method would work, but the more that we can just have campaigns up and awareness, like honestly, I think if we had more signs in the bathroom that showed what happens when you don't wash your hands, I think that would be like the best way.
They have all those TV screens at the gas stations and everything. I mean, they're constantly bombarding us with marketing messages. Like, let's put TV screens up in the bathroom, teaching us basic survival skills, like washing your hands and not getting the plague.
Oh my gosh. Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you wash your hands properly?
The thing that people don't realize is that the vigorous motion of rubbing is what is most impactful in washing your hands. And so that's why when you were saying like your kids put the soap on, that's super common. They don't know that. They just think, oh, I put soap and water and then I rinse it and that's hand washing. Wetting your hands, putting soap in your hands, and there's lots of controversy about whether antibacterial soap should be used. It has a lot of effects once it gets into the water stream. I'm not here to talk about the politicalness of that, like soap. Just use soap and whatever is your personal preference of how crunchy you are on what kind of soap. We use Dr. Bronner's.
I love Dr. Bronner's.
Yeah, it's a great like cast out soap. And so we use that in our house. That hasn't been like researched from a nursing's perspective. Just use soap, like period. Okay. Put the soap on your hands and then vigorously rub everything. So you can see like I'm rubbing my hands, I'm rubbing my wrist, I'm rubbing in between my fingers. You want to rub your fingernails. And for children, you just have to make a game out of it. If you make a game out of it, anything is fun. Singing like the happy birthday song or singing the ABCs allows about 30 seconds of hand washing, and just remind them to cover all the surfaces, like, you know, wiggle your fingers. And now we got to get now we get the fingertips and we get the backs, and you just make it fun and do it with them. And then that's how they learn to properly wash their hands.
You know, it's like the third week or fourth week of school. My oldest daughter came home Friday sick. Her teacher also didn't go to school on Friday sick. It's starting, people.
Yes, definitely. People don't realize that as soon as you're done washing your hands, whatever you touch now just contaminated your hands. This is super evident to me as a nurse because we had to do sterile procedures. We had to really think about like everything we're touching and what order we're touching it in. The best thing that parents can do is have their kids wash their hands as soon as they walk in the door from school, because everything that they touched is now going to be brought into my house unless we wash our hands first. That can prevent some of those germs from getting on the doorknob, which then maybe you wash your hands before you eat, but you also touch that doorknob after you washed your hands. So now that germ that was on the doorknob is on your hands again, and now you're eating, and now you just ate that germ you tried to prevent with washing your hands. Light switches, any surface really.
Part of our routine when we get home is my kids take their lunch boxes out of their backpacks and go put them in the kitchen. And that seems like the perfect next place to be like, drop the lunch boxes, wash your hands. For the super crunchy community, what are your thoughts about a little bit of germs, a little bit of bacteria is actually good for building your immune system?
There's a difference between the germs that you're exposed to, like per se in the dirt or things that will build your immune system, and like pathogenic viruses. Like there's a huge difference between flora, right? Flora is like the technical term for bacteria. Like there's normal flora. So there's normal bacteria and yeast and things that live on our skin all the time and all throughout our body. And exposure to different varieties of those can help your immune system. So not being so concerned about everything being so sterile all the time, we found in research is good for us. But exposure to like the flu virus is never going to be a good thing. Like you're never going to get any benefit from just being exposed to like E. coli and the flu virus. So that's what we're really trying to prevent, is the pathogenic species from getting into our system.
And I can see that working so well with what you've said. Just wash your hands as soon as you get home from school. And that way you kind of have your normal flora in your home environment without bringing in those heavy duty pathogens that make us sicker than a dog.
Yeah. And people don't realize that they will enter our body in any of our orifices, basically. So your eyes, your nose, and your ears, and your mouth. At our house, we have a rule: you don't touch other people's faces. That's probably my nursing mom overkill.
I'm always asking my kids not to touch my face, but it's mostly because I'm terrified that they're going to poke my eyes out.
Yeah. And there's obviously great ways you can nurture and love someone with touching their face safely with clean hands, but not just like when you're out playing, and no one needs to be poking your eyes, you know?
Absolutely. So. My platform is so crunchy, and I think that Western and non-Western approaches to healthcare and supporting our minds and bodies, they work so beautifully together. So I don't think that we should alienate one just because we believe in the other, regardless of which end of the spectrum you lean heavily towards. So thank you so much for sharing all this. Tell us where we can find you online.
You can find me at GretchenHeinen.com. I'm also really active on Instagram, and my handle is Gretchen_Heinen, and WorkingMomRescue.com, which is a guide that you can take away as a parent to help you save 15 hours a week. It's a free guide. You can find that at WorkingMomRescue.com.
I think regardless of whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a working mom, like who couldn't use an extra 15 hours? Well, thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are watching this video, please be sure to check out Gretchen on the Abundant Parent membership. She was my guest this month. We're talking all about body safety getting to and from school, as well as that mental health safety for surviving the school year. You can find that at theabundantparent.com. You want to click on the tab that says membership. Thank you so much, and we're wishing you a day full of light, love, and abundance. Bye.